It's June, and the wheels are officially coming off the wagon at school, at home, and everywhere in between. If you're just treading water right now, come join our life raft. Let's grab a rubber dinghy and paddle across the finish line together.
Nicole, Sunday night, I had a nightmare. It was beyond the Sunday scaries. It was terrifying. I had a dream that my daughter and I were driving in the country and there was a tornado. We were on a gravel road. There was nowhere to go unless I was going through the ditch and through the fields. And I had a choice of parking or driving right through that sucker. And so I looked at my daughter and I was like, well, I guess it's pedal to the metal and we're going through this tornado. It was absolutely terrifying. We got through the tornado, we survived, and there was another one coming. And I had to wake myself up. I think I was literally crying real tears. And I just thought, oh my goodness, it is because it is June. June is like that. We've been describing June a little bit like a tornado, and it came through in my Sunday scary nightmare of a dream. So, of course, I looked it up to see what it meant, and it was all about that, about impending change, stressful times, what's to come, the worry about keeping all the balls up in the air, and about resilience and wanting to take control and take charge of the situation. And I thought that pretty much sums up the whole month of June perfectly.
Which is interesting because that is literally the topic of today's episode was all the things that we are trying to do all the time, but we realize that sometimes the wheels are going to fall off, the balls are going to drop, the plates are going to stop spinning, we're going to be treading water, we're going to have to keep somehow the circus going. And how are we doing this? And the thing is, we're not doing it gracefully all the time, and that's okay. I think that when we share as teachers, as parents, as friends and spouses, the things in our life that we perhaps know that aren't going our way or that we need a little bit of help with, that helps kind of everybody else, right? So I guess my biggest thing is when we were talking about possibly doing an episode around this is that June, it's overdrive. And it's not just overdrive at school. When you are a teacher, your school overdrive filters into your real life overdrive because there's so much going on that your brain is so full that you do forget things that are happening in your other context of your life. When I think about, let's say, my home right now and all the things that I personally have going on with, the fact that in 3 weeks we have to be out of this house, we have to be completely packed into our storage pods, we have to be into our Airbnb. That seems overwhelming all at once. And it is, but I'm trying to break it down into these bite sized bits. But I will say this week alone, for example, I forgot to book the pod that needs to come to my house. So could you imagine? I'm assuming it's going to come on this day that we chose and it's just not here. And then I start blaming, I don't know, Brandon, like, well, how come the pod's not here? Oh my goodness. So just things like that. Where I'm like, okay, it is now officially booked, just so you know. But at the moment, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do that from a week ago. So today I'll go through the list of things, and I know you will too. Let's say, if you will, not perhaps attuned to as much as we think we are.
It's so true. And I think as I'm preparing to move out of my classroom, I'm culling and purging it while trying to live in the classroom as it is set up. Going through the bins kind of in the boot room or going through the cupboards slowly to try to declutter. I feel like I'm also doing this in my home. And I feel like it's kind of part of me knowing that you're moving. I'm also purging my home. So all of a sudden, at the front door, I have this massive pile of things that I've collected that need to go somewhere. And we had company arriving last night. And I was like, what am I doing with all of this stuff? Also, report card season. So, report cards are due this coming week for me. And when you have like a really clean house, everything's organized, all of a sudden you have a new wardrobe during report card season. You start to take on more things than are priority as you're processing all of the things that need to happen.
Absolutely. I was thinking about this. What if we broke this down into kind of three sections? So, kind of the things that are going, sideways, or we maybe are thinking that we are dropping a few things at school, maybe home, and then us. as just human beings, as people that have friends and lives outside of our homes and work. So, what about those 3 categories? Does that work for you?
That works perfectly. It just makes me giggle because do you remember when we had our husbands on? Of course, you remember when my husband says he likes June Michelle better. And I really do want to follow up with him and see if that's actually true. Because what's happening right now is he's asking me a question and I will just stare at him. No words come out. And I know it's because my brain is juggling all of these thoughts and ideas. And so he kind of does this motion to me like, okay, come on, right? Get it
Like, get
out,
on with
right?
it.
I'm like, give me a second. I'm trying to pull down the answer, pull down the thought. It will come out eventually.
So, for me, let's start with school. Let's start
Okay.
compartmentalizing that. It's so different, I'll be honest, not being in a classroom. And the true honesty is that, and I want all people outside of my own personal experience to know that I know that all teachers work extremely hard no matter what role you're in. And that includes like non-classroom based teachers or specialists. However, I will just say for me this year, as a non-classroom based teacher, I don't find June as crazy when I'm not in charge of like a group of little humans, just because I'm not having to plan right now, the end of the year activities, keeping them engaged all day, the same kids engaged all day. I have a bit of a report card component, but not a full set of report cards, right? So there is, I'll be honest, a little bit less on my plate at school. And I want to be transparent with that. When you are a classroom teacher or when you are a specialist in charge of an entire school's set of report cards and end of year concerts or, sports days. That is crazy. I don't have that this year. So I appreciate specialists that have to have all that all the time and classroom teachers right now, because in the role I'm at right now as a literacy interventionist, I am supporting teachers in different ways, but I don't have as much of a load, if you will, this year. So I do really see the difference. So what I'm trying to do at work is go around and see where I can support, where I can help, right? I know that, for example, the end of the year comes with a lot of movement in school sometimes and a lot of cleaning and organizing. I'm going to obviously step up to help with that. Or if I can go cover a classroom for a little bit just so a teacher can have, an extra prep so they can get things done, I'm going to try to do that when I have some time. So I am recognizing that school this year does seem a little bit different for me end of the year. And I am going to be entering into a classroom position next year. And so that's going to obviously look very different for me. But I am very aware of how much teachers have on their plates at school, because almost as an outsider looking in, when I walk by classrooms, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like there is so much going on all the time. And also, just in the building, you just feel it. You can kind of feel a little bit of the angst of like report card time and end of year, end of season, and teachers wanting to do the best they still can for their kids. Because honestly, the staff I work with is incredible, just as I know as yours. About they just do what's right for kids. They want to make those relationships and they want to make all those end of the year memories with their students. And I just see how hard they're working. So for me, school is less of a thing right now. It's more of my, I guess, home personal life. That things are crazier for me. But as a classroom-based teacher right now yourself, Michelle, what types of things at school do you feel like you're just not keeping up with?
Well, I would just say you've described it so well because it's such a tension right now to to try to make memories with these kids. I mean, we only have them for 8 more days. It's just breaking my heart. I just want to keep them forever. However, they are ready for summer. And also, they have big feelings right now. There are lots of feelings happening right now. So I find it's a tension because I still have some things that I need to assess them on. Yet I want to have this balance of, them having fun. In terms of balls dropping, at school, I can't really pinpoint one right now, but I would say everything is a strategy. What I am doing with the kids has to be very strategic based on what I need for report card time. But I also need them to go outside and play and do the sidewalk chalk and have those surprises. So I would just say everything on my mind constantly is strategy and timing. And if we can do this for 10 minutes, then you can do this for 10 minutes. This constant talking about what will work for them and what will work for me. As far as balls dropping, I can't think of something that I've forgotten. It's definitely impacting me more at home right now. How about you? Any balls dropping at your school?
Well, at the school, perhaps, yes. Of course, like when I listen to the things that are happening in the staff room or when I meet colleagues in the hallway. And it's so interesting. I think it's a good segue into like, maybe it's not actually that you know what? That's a good connection, Michelle. We're not maybe forgetting things at school. It's that it's filtering into our home lives, right? Because school is the focus right now. It is kind of the priority. You have things, there's a deadline, there's things you have to get done in the next, few weeks before the end of the school year. So that's actually I never even thought about that way. The angst I think I personally feel is more in my personal life. And I know the same thing that you had just mentioned for you. And it's actually a couple conversations I have with staff this week as well, is that things that are happening, let's say, at a personal level, as a mom, as a dad, right? As a spouse, as a friend. Because as teachers in June, we do have deadlines. We do have things we have to do. So it's almost like full speed ahead at school, which means things are kind of maybe dropping outside of school. So that's a good segue into home, for example. This week I forgot to sign my daughter's permission slip, which is just super embarrassing as a teacher when you get that email being like, your child cannot go on the field trip tomorrow if they don't have their permission slip signed. That's like, oh my goodness. And I never forget that type of stuff. I am uber organized when it comes to the kids' schooling and sporting. And then I was beating myself up about it for a good hour. I felt just like, oh, how could I forget this? So then I sent an email back to the teacher, of course, like apologizing, saying I'll leave at my lunch break to come and bring over the permission slip. And then I know I don't want to be that parent. And she's just like, Nicole, take a breath. You're allowed to forget things. That's how she literally emailed me back. Nicole, take a breath. You are allowed to forget things. Have a great day. I was like, okay, thank you for seeing me
Oh
because,
my goodness.
like, right, as teachers, we do forget things. I find it hard though when you quote unquote make a mistake as a mom or, you know, a spouse of a child where they know you're a teacher. I feel there's a
Mhm.
judgment there, even though I don't judge like teachers that I've had before, of students in my class. Like I get it, like they're human, but I feel judged, and I'm just like, please don't. Like I promise I won't do this again, right? But that's just like something small, but it really did impact me because I thought, oh, how could I forget that? So that's just one of the many examples of things at home right now that I'm just like, oh my gosh, how did I forget that?
Well, you just made me feel like so much more human because I made the biggest mistake this week. My husband was supposed to take 2 of our boys to the orthodontist. It was all planned. We had the whole evening planned based on who he was picking up and taking to which event, and then who I was picking up and taking to which event, and then he got caught up at work. And so he messaged me, "What do I do?" And I thought, well, first thing, we're just going to cancel the ortho. It's the lowest on the priority list for today. We'll reschedule. And then I had this light bulb moment that my colleague Becky could probably dismiss my children at the end of the day because she walks out on to the tarmac anyway. And I thought, I'll just go down and ask her for a favor. I'll dodge over, get the kids from school, scoop up my daughter, and get to ortho. And so I thought I had it all perfectly planned to save the ortho appointment, get it off my never ending to do list. And I didn't even know if my daughter had to be signed out from school or not because I do not do those things. My husband does all of that, thank goodness. So I called the school and asked if they could let her know that I'd be picking her up just 10 minutes before dismissal and went to the school. And then when she got to the car, bless her heart, she was fine. But I had basically pulled her out of a written assessment. And she was told that her mom was picking her up early and it was unexpected. So, of course, she thought it was an emergency. And there was no emergency. And had I known her schedule or even thought about the time of year for her, I wouldn't have done that. So basically, I tried to keep one ball up in the air and then I caused a whole other problem. So I too, Nicole, wrote the teacher because I felt terrible. I felt so bad and I was overly apologetic, I know, but I was so embarrassed that I had done that. And she was basically the same to me, like, "It is fine. Nobody died. Everything is okay. Take a breath."
And I think maybe as teachers, we overcompensate because we know the other side. We know what it's like when kids get pulled out of our class or when, they're in the middle of something that's, pretty important at that time. And then you don't hear from a parent. So I think that as teachers, we do overcompensate for those types of things. Another thing that I know at home this week, it's basically, well, not even just this week, the last few weeks, it's pretty much fend for yourself around dinner time around here. So I don't know. I'm not the big cook in my house. My husband is. However, even he right now is feeling the pressure of just end of the year and work and different things, right? And sports. And so we've done a bunch of pre-done meals on Sunday, but it's like you need to go and get it yourself. You need to heat it up. If you want to add a side to it, that's on you. There's really honestly, I can think in the last probably, I don't know, 2 weeks that the four of us have been home at the same time to actually eat dinner that we've cooked, from scratch that day together. There's lots of things, of course, the kids can just heat up, but I would say that that's one thing that I'm letting go and I'm just walking away and going, it's okay. They're still getting fed. They're still eating relatively healthy. They're fine. They can fend for themselves a little bit this time of year if needed.
Have you seen those memes or those reels of moms making their kids lunches? And it's literally like a whole raw sweet potato, one dill pickle, an apple, and a slice of bread, nothing else. And then they close the lunchbox and on their way. And yesterday morning, I checked with the kids. Did you all make your lunches? Because they make their own, and then I kind of like fill in, some
Yeah.
nutrition. But nobody had made their lunches yesterday morning. And in my mind, I was like, "Whatever." Like, if you have a yogurt tube, let's go.
Don't you find sometimes that's teachers at school too? In the staff room this week, and I can see it's happening, is that, most of the year, these teachers have these lovely lunches, either leftovers or some salads or whatnot. There has been so much skip the dishes in our staff room and school this week because I feel it too. I am also one of those people that went one day, I'm like, in the morning, I woke up like, I don't even have an extra 2 minutes this morning to get to my own lunch. So I'm just gonna order a salad for lunch, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, you can tell it's that time of year for everybody right now in schools. It's one of those things where I'm trying to look to the teachers right now that are maybe perhaps needing that little bit of reassurance because also still I've only been there, for the 7-ish weeks and I'm just getting to know people. And I have a soft spot right now this time of year for all teachers. So I'm just kind of looking to like, how can I best like give you a smile, a hug, a calmness, how can I bring that to you? A kind word, right? So just those types of things I'm trying to look for within my building. And even though I don't know all of my colleagues super well yet, I just know that little connection you can have with someone through covering a class or bringing a coffee makes a huge difference in a teacher's day.
They do, and that's so beautiful that you're able to do that, Nicole. We have our lunchtime supervisors who will come by and they'll just open the door and they'll look at me, and I know it's, "Do you need anything? Do you need a drink of water? Do you need to run to the washroom?" And sometimes I just give them the thumbs up, like, "I am good." And other times I am like, "Yes, please. I'd love to run to the washroom." And just even the check-in, even if I don't need them, just them opening the door and checking is just such a gift. Even to look at another adult in a moment, right? To exchange a glance can just like fuel you for the next half an hour. And yeah, it's a pretty crazy time of year. I feel like I'm treading water.
Absolutely. And then the one last thing I would say, well, not the last thing, but the one last thing right now I can think about in my mind is that just ships passing in the night with my husband right now, right? It's like sometimes I'll just go to bed and it's well, like laying there and it's, almost 11 o'clock at night and I'll just bolt up with like three or four things. It's like, did you, schedule this? Or did you pick up the tile samples? Who's driving to lacrosse tomorrow? Like all these things that I didn't even get to yet in my brain for the day. And then he's like, it's in the calendar. We talked about this because he's calmer right now because he doesn't have all the crazy things that are happening at school. But I'm like, okay, he's got me. So I know that not everybody has the luxury of that, but Brandon is super organized. So he kind of keeps me on track with things. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having just some more time as a family, as a couple, as we go into summer, right? Because that's at home right now. I feel like it's just like that ship's passing analogy of like we're just kind of touching base right now. And that's kind of June every year, it seems like.
Derek and I have also been ships literally passing in the night because this bless my husband at the craziest times of year, learning conferences, report cards, June, school startup. He will work through the night, as you know. He will pick up these extra shifts to do work in the night that needs to be done. And he thinks, bless him, it's such a gift because then he's available in the day. And so he is getting up to go to work at 2:30 in the morning. And even though I am sleeping, it just disrupts the rhythm of life. And so yesterday, my son had a tournament for school, but him and I hadn't seen each other. So I wrote him and I said, is the tournament still happening? Where is the tournament? What time is the tournament? Is there a chance I might make it to the tournament? No answer, no response. So then I tried my daughter. Do you know where dad is? Do you know if the tournament's on? Where is the tournament? She's like, I'm at the tournament. Perfect. Where is the tournament?
Somebody tell me where to go.
It just throws the whole system off because we're just not even on the same time zone for a few days. But now he's back to regular programming. I pray until July, and that will be helpful. And it's funny because it doesn't disrupt what I'm doing at school, but it's another thing on my mind. I also wanted to say I use my notes app for my to-do list. But for some reason, I have my to-do list on my notes app. I have it in a notebook. I have it on a notepad. Yesterday, driving to school, I asked my son to text me a few more things because I am so worried. Like I have it in four different places. I don't know if I'm worried I'll lose my phone or the notebook or what, but I'm so worried I'll forget something that it's coming at me from all angles.
My notes app is not organized. I'm not gonna lie. Like I will open that and it's just the most random things. It's like one of them's about a grocery list. The next thing is about something with the house. Then it's like make sure that you text, this person back. I need to organize my note better. If I was to share, there's like a trend going right now around right now on social media where you share your note app. I would be so embarrassed. I can't do it. It would people be like, what is this lady doing? Like it has no rhyme or reason. There's no organization, but it works for me right now in my
Oh,
very cluttered mind.
I would not want to share mine either, but goodness me, I don't know what I did without that notes app.
So moving into just you and I as actual people and not as teachers, not as moms or spouses, as who we are as Nicole and Michelle. For some of the things that I know I'm really feeling the pinch on right now is missing out on making connections with all of my friends. I know that this podcast for you and I is such a gift because it connects us on a weekly basis. And I was able to see you in person this week at your son's ball game, which was also extra special. But there's a lot of course, friends of mine that I feel like this time of year, they understand it. I've been in this gig for 22 years. They basically leave me alone for June, and which I feel bad about, but they also know. They just know the reality. They've seen me walk through it. And so I was really given a gift though yesterday to connect with some really great friends. And I didn't know I needed it until I needed it. It's one of those things where I came home from school yesterday and I don't know why I just felt very off. I just felt, I don't know, wasn't myself and nobody was at my house, which is, to have a house alone as a mom is a gift. But I sat down on the couch and I don't know what got over me, but the waterworks started coming. I just started crying and I was like, I don't know why I'm crying. And I don't usually do this. So I cried, I don't know, for a couple minutes. I felt like this release of pressure. I just felt, okay, Nicole, what is this telling you? Like, are something happening? Are you upset about something? And I realized it was just, I hadn't come back to myself in a while. I hadn't been Nicole for a while. And I was going out last night to an event with some friends. When I got home, I knew that I had the magic potion, which was just filling into my heart and soul, which for this weekend for me is brilliant because right after we leave this podcast today, I am going to Canmore with my previous grade one team. And I cannot wait. It is an annual tradition of ours and it fills my heart and soul. So I know after today and tomorrow, I'm going to head back into the rest of June, like full speed ahead, ready to commit again to all the other things. I feel like it's hard sometimes. You shouldn't have to step away from your actual life, but the reality as teachers is we do. That is the honest truth. So June is tough. And so reconnecting with those people for me right now is super important.
I've had a number of opportunities to spend time with friends this week, and I realized it's because it was my birthday week. You made the most beautiful post on our Instagram. Thank you so much for that. I think because I have a June birthday, it naturally lends itself to dinners out and whatnot. So Tuesday night, I went out with a group of friends to try a new restaurant, which we love doing. And it was such a beautiful surprise, a little hidden gem in our corner of the city that I didn't even know existed. And then on Thursday night, I met some of my colleagues for Indian food. And it's so cute because when we go out for dinner, we just know that we're meeting at this centrally located Indian restaurant. We just say the time and we just all know where to go. And that was such a blessing and totally filled my cup. One of the girls was not feeling great, but she was like, I am not missing this. Like, there was no way she was missing an opportunity to sit down and chat. But Nicole, yesterday, I was so tired after school and I came home, put my pajamas on, crawled into bed. My son was like, Are you in your pajamas? I said, Yes, I just need 45 minutes because we had an event last night. We had company arriving, but I knew if I could just sleep for 45 minutes, I would be a better human. I knew I needed that rest desperately, but I also knew it would make everyone's life better if I just rejuvenated. And so that's what I did. And we went on with the night and it was great. And I woke up feeling like a better human because I prioritized that need for myself yesterday.
Absolutely. The one thing also that I will say that I'm continuing to do, so every Thursday night I play on a ball team, a slow pitch team, and we have a double header, so it's a good 3 or 4 hours that I get to be out with these wonderful group of ladies that I've been part of for the last 2 years. And so I've been able to continue with that. So last week we went out and I realized though when I was there on the ball diamond, I had my golf shoes on. Not my ball cleats, my golf ones. Okay, in all fairness, they're very similar. Okay, I'm gonna take a picture one time and I'm gonna share them out on here. They're both Nike. They're black and white. They look similar, but when I grab them off the shelf, I grab my, I don't know, are they golf cleats? Are they considered cleats? They have little like cleat looking things on the bottom.
So similar.
But I can tell you when I ran that first base, I thought, "What? Something feels off." And I looked down and I was just like, "I cannot tell anybody that I'm wearing my golf shoes right now." So I didn't say anything until the next week that Paula was like, "Hey guys, last week I wore my golf shoes, but don't worry, I won't make that mistake again because my feet really did hurt after them." So obviously there is a bit of a difference to it. But again, still went out, played ball, but I love doing that for myself. But you still, I still was just like, it was chaotic. I ran home to grab my ball bag because I had, 2 minutes in between school and going to back to the diamond. So, we're human. We
We
all,
are
we're all,
human.
yeah, we're all rushing. We're all making mistakes. We're all learning. We all have to depend on each other and our people. So, hey,
Oh, that
it is what
makes
it
me
is.
cry. Okay, so I'm a vivid dreamer. I remember when we were both packing up our homes and moving out of our community, Nicole. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was having this reoccurring nightmare that I was going places without wearing pants. It was a nightmare. And I finally told my sister, I said, Jackie, I don't know what is going on, but I keep having this dream that I am showing up places without
Did you look that up
pants.
did you look that up? What does this tell you? What is there meaning behind that, Michelle? Knowing you researched it.
Oh my goodness. I know I did research it at the time, and I think it was a very similar analysis as driving head on straight through a tornado. But as you're packing up your home and preparing to move, just make sure you're wearing pants when you go to baseball.
That's a good tip and trick. Before we wrap up here, Michelle, is there anything else that you feel right now will just help our listeners understand that they are not alone in June, that they have other colleagues that are feeling the same pinch across their school, across their districts, across, wherever they live, that we're all feeling some type of pinch in June.
Really, June is not about perfection. It's just we have to remind ourselves that things are not going to be perfect, as we have described all the ways our month hasn't been perfect. I mean, obviously, the goal is to keep all the balls in the air, but I think as teachers, we have to continue to remember that those school kids are all of our kids. So, like what you said about popping into a classroom, does somebody need anything? Or, right, just checking in with a teacher. I think that is so beautiful. And obviously, as a classroom teacher, when you have your own kids, you cannot be running around and checking on other people all of the time. But if you see a student in the hallway having a hard time or a student making a poor decision, just helping out in those situations as best as you can. Yesterday or the day before, we had a fire drill. Okay, so fire drill practice in June is next level. And there was one little boy and a girl in another class having a hard time. And our youth development counselor just nicely went over to try and help these two kids sort out the situation while our teacher was, counting all of her children, doing attendance. Does she have everybody accounted for out of the school? And it was just so lovely that our YDC went over to help in that situation because all of those little bits make a huge difference in a day. So I just think that it's not going to be perfect. We have to go easy on ourselves and we have to try as much as we can to infuse the fun, not just for the kids, but for us too. Laughter is truly the best medicine these days.
Bring the joy, bring the fun. We need it as adults just as much, if not more, in June than the kids. That's so important. I was just going to leave us with this. None of these drop balls are made of glass. They're all made of rubber. The kids will be fine if they eat pizza twice a week. The school year will wrap up even if our desks are messy. Our partners and friends know that we're in the trenches. The finish line is weeks, if not days away. I've got this. You've got this. We all have this. Just one step at a time. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Have a great week.
Wait, is that the bell? The buses are rolling and we've got duty.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Teachers Next Door podcast. If you enjoyed this week's PD session, do us a solid. Leave a rating, 5 stars preferably, and a review. Think of it as giving us an A+ on our eval. It helps other listeners find their way to our neighborhood. As the kids say, please subscribe.
Do you have a burning question or topic you would like to hear about? Send us an email or message. Be sure to follow us on Instagram for show updates and details on future episodes.
This podcast was produced and edited by us, your teachers next door. No outsourcing here. The reality of all teachers. We do it all.
If nobody else has told you today, just remember, you are doing a great job. Catch you next time.
And we should mention, the ideas we share on this podcast are totally our own.